There is something powerful about a woman who refuses to let the noise of the world drown out the voice of God. We live in a time where opinions are louder than truth, where distractions are everywhere, where everybody wants to tell you who you should be, what you should look like, and how you should live. It's almost impossible to escape the noise. But a woman who listens to God knows how to filter through it. She knows that the world shouts, but God whispers. She knows that when everybody else is demanding her attention, the most important voice is the one that often comes in the quiet moments of prayer, in the stillness of the morning, in the peace before the storm. And make no mistake, this doesn't mean life around her is silent. She still faces deadlines, responsibilities, chaos in her home, pressure from her relationships, and the endless scroll of voices online. But the difference is that she has trained her spirit to hear what others miss. While others are overwhelmed, she pauses. While others rush to react, she chooses to respond with wisdom. While others are pulled in every direction, she leans into one direction, upward. That's the secret. That's the power. Because when you listen to God, you're not just hearing words, you're aligning with the source of peace, strength, and clarity. Think about how many times in life the wrong voices have led people astray. The wrong friends can push you into decisions you regret. The wrong influences can make you compromise who you are. The wrong advice can make you settle for less than what God designed for you. But when a woman listens to God, she steps into alignment with the voice that never fails. The voice that doesn't manipulate. The voice that doesn't change depending on the trends. The voice that doesn't flatter but tells the truth in love. It takes discipline to hear that voice. It takes courage to say no to the noise. It takes strength to tune out the negativity, the comparisons, the fear, and the endless chatter of people who don't even know your heart. But when you make the choice to listen, something shifts. Suddenly, your decisions carry weight. Your confidence isn't built on opinions but on promises. Your direction isn't based on chance but on purpose. And the people around you can feel it. They may not always understand it, but they can't ignore it. They see a woman who isn't easily swayed, who isn't shaken by criticism, who isn't chasing the approval of the crowd. They see a woman grounded in something deeper, something unshakable, something eternal. That's why a woman who listens to God stands out. Not because she's the loudest, not because she has to prove anything, but because there is a presence about her, a strength, a wisdom, a peace. And it comes from the one she listens to. Maybe you've been in a season where the noise has been deafening. Everybody's got an opinion about your life. Maybe it's family. Maybe it's friends. Maybe it's social media, comparing your journey to somebody else's highlight reel. And you've been asking yourself, how do I know what's right? How do I know what direction to take? The answer isn't found in listening to more voices. It's found in listening to the right one. God is not trying to compete with the world's volume. He speaks in ways that require your attention, your stillness, your willingness to lean in. And when you lean in, when you listen, when you choose His voice above the rest, you begin to walk in a different kind of confidence. You don't need everybody else to validate you. You don't need the noise to guide you. You already have the compass within you. That's why women who listen to God carry a power this world can't explain. Because the world runs on chaos, but she runs on clarity. The world runs on fear, but she runs on faith. The world runs on opinions, but she runs on truth. So if you want to understand the power of a woman who listens to God, just look at how she moves in a noisy world. Calm, collected, purposeful. She doesn't just survive the noise, she rises above it. Because when you can hear God above the noise, you can stand when others fall, you can see when others are blind, and you can move forward when others are stuck. And that, right there, is where true power lies. There's a truth most people miss about strength. We're taught from an early age that strength is about control, about holding it all together, about making sure nothing slips through the cracks. We're told that to be strong is to never bend, never break, never show weakness. But the power of a woman who listens to God is not found in control, it's found in surrender. That sounds upside down, doesn't it? Because in this world, surrender is seen as weakness. But in the kingdom of God, surrender is where strength begins. When a woman surrenders her plans, her fears, her anxieties, her battles to God, she is not giving up. She is giving over. There's a difference. Giving up is quitting. Giving over is trusting. And when she trusts the one who holds the universe together, she discovers a strength she never could have carried on her own. Think about how heavy life gets when you try to carry it by yourself. The weight of expectations, the pressure of providing, the burden of proving yourself, the constant need to meet standards that keep changing. It's exhausting, and it's easy to believe that the only way to survive is to keep pushing harder, to keep pretending you're fine, to keep putting on a strong face when inside you're breaking. But the moment you surrender, the moment you stop saying, "I've got this," and start saying, "God, you've got this," is the moment you finally taste freedom. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that your strength has limits, but His doesn't. It's knowing that you can only see the moment, but He sees the whole picture. It's realizing that your power runs out, but His never will, and the woman who lives in that reality doesn't crumble under pressure. She rises. She rises because she doesn't stand in her own ability, she stands in His. It's not about losing your fight. It's about changing who you fight with. Because when you fight in your own strength, the battle wears you down. But when you surrender, when you let God fight for you, you can rest even in the middle of the war. You can face giants without fear, because you know you're not alone. You can endure storms without losing hope, because you know the one who calms the sea is holding your hand. And here's the beautiful part: surrender doesn't make you smaller, it makes you stronger. People see surrender as shrinking back, but in reality, it expands you, it expands your faith, it expands your peace, it expands your influence. Because people notice when a woman walks through fire without burning out. They notice when she carries joy in seasons of pain. They notice when she refuses to let fear dictate her future. That kind of strength doesn't come from willpower, it comes from surrender. And it doesn't mean she never has moments of doubt or fear. It doesn't mean she doesn't cry, doesn't question, doesn't stumble. It means that even in her weakness, she knows where to turn. She knows her tears aren't wasted because they water the soil where faith grows. She knows her questions don't disqualify her because God isn't intimidated by them. She knows her stumbles don't define her because grace always picks her up. That's the paradox. Her surrender becomes her strength. The world may look at her and see someone who bows her head in prayer, who lays down her plans, who says, "Not my will, but yours be done," and they think she's giving up. But heaven sees a warrior. Heaven sees a woman clothed in power. Heaven sees a daughter who has tapped into a strength the world cannot take away. And when you carry that kind of strength, you walk differently. You speak differently. You live differently. Because you know it's not about how much you can control. It's about how much you can trust. You're not obsessed with proving yourself because you know you're already approved. You're not consumed with winning every battle because you know the victory is already won. You're not exhausted by trying to be everything to everyone because you've surrendered to the one who is everything. That's what makes her unstoppable. Not that she controls everything, but that she surrenders everything. Not that she carries it all, but that she knows who carries her. And when you understand that kind of surrender, you realize it's not weakness at all. It's the strongest thing you could ever do. So never mistake her bowed head for defeat. It's the posture of victory. Never mistake her open hands for loss. They are the hands ready to receive. Never mistake her surrender for weakness. It is the mark of a woman whose strength comes from a source that never runs dry. And when she rises from that place, nothing in this world can stand against her. One of the most powerful things about a woman who listens to God is that she never wanders without direction. She might not always know the next 5 steps, but she always knows the next right one. That's what happens when you walk in divine purpose. You stop living by accident, and you start living on assignment. And the difference between those two is everything. See, the world wants you to believe that purpose is about chasing the spotlight, collecting achievements, stacking up accomplishments so you can prove that your life has meaning. But divine purpose is different. Divine purpose isn't about what you gain, it's about what you give. It's not about being seen, it's about being sent. A woman who listens to God doesn't need applause to know she's valuable. She doesn't need likes or validation to know she's chosen. She knows who called her, and because she knows, she walks with a confidence that can't be shaken. And here's the thing, purpose isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it looks like serving in silence when nobody's watching. Sometimes it looks like saying no to opportunities that everyone else thinks are perfect because they don't align with the assignment God placed on your life. Sometimes it looks like waiting when everything in you wants to rush ahead. That's the beauty of walking in divine purpose. You don't let the crowd dictate your pace. You let God set your steps. There's a peace that comes with that, because when you're walking in purpose, you stop comparing your life to everybody else's. You don't have to compete with their success because their path isn't your path. You don't have to mimic their story because God is writing one that's uniquely yours. And when you trust that, when you lean into that, you can celebrate others without feeling threatened. You can lift others up without feeling like you're falling behind, because you understand that divine purpose is not a race, it's a calling. And make no mistake, purpose doesn't just bless you, it blesses everyone connected to you. When a woman walks in divine purpose, she carries an impact far bigger than her own life. She changes the atmosphere in her home. She sets a standard in her relationships. She inspires her children to believe bigger, to pray harder, to trust deeper. Her purpose becomes a ripple effect, touching people she may never even meet. That's the thing about living aligned with God's will. Your obedience plants seeds that keep growing long after you're gone. But walking in divine purpose isn't always easy. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes people won't understand why you made that decision, why you turned down that job, why you walked away from that relationship, why you chose a different road. They'll question you, they'll doubt you, they'll criticize you. But when you've heard from God, when you know in your soul that this is where He's leading you, you don't let their confusion shake your conviction. Because purpose isn't about pleasing people, it's about fulfilling what God placed inside of you. And here's what's amazing, purpose doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's found in the ordinary moments. In the act of kindness nobody notices, in the prayer whispered in the dark, in the steady faithfulness of showing up day after day, even when nobody claps for you. That's where true purpose grows. It grows in obedience. It grows in faithfulness. It grows in listening and responding, even when it costs you something. And when you live like that, when you align your steps with God's direction, you start to see that nothing in your life is wasted. Even the pain has purpose. Even the waiting has purpose. Even the disappointments have purpose. Because they're all shaping you for the assignment you were created for. That's why a woman who listens to God can walk through seasons of uncertainty without fear, because she knows that even if she doesn't see the whole map, she knows the one who wrote it. So if you've ever felt lost, if you've ever felt like you don't know why you're here, if you've ever wondered if your life even matters, let me tell you this, you are not random, you are not forgotten, and you are not here by accident. You were created with intention. You were called with purpose. And when you choose to listen to God, you step into a life that is bigger than your dreams, stronger than your struggles, and more meaningful than anything this world could ever offer. That's the power of a woman who listens to God. She doesn't wander, she doesn't chase, she walks. And every step she takes echoes with destiny. When a woman listens to God and walks in her purpose, the impact doesn't stop with her. It multiplies. It flows beyond her own life and into the lives of everyone connected to her. That's the thing about obedience. It's never just personal. It's generational. The choices you make today don't just shape your story, they shape the story of those who come after you. And a woman who listens to God understands that her influence is bigger than herself. Think about it. When a mother chooses prayer over panic, she's not only finding peace for herself, she's planting faith in her children. When a wife chooses grace over anger, she shifts the atmosphere in her home. When a daughter chooses integrity in a world that celebrates compromise, she sets a new standard for her family. That's what influence looks like. It's not always loud. It's not always announced. But it's powerful, and it creates a ripple that touches generations. We underestimate sometimes how much our everyday decisions matter. But a woman who listens to God knows that every word she speaks carries weight. Every choice she makes sends a message. Every sacrifice she embraces lays a foundation for somebody else to build on. She doesn't just think about today, she's conscious of tomorrow. She understands that the way she handles her battles, her faith, her obedience, is going to echo long after she's gone. And here's the truth, influence doesn't always look like changing the world on a global stage. Sometimes it's changing the world inside your home. Sometimes it's showing your children what strength looks like, not by never falling, but by getting back up every time you do. Sometimes it's letting the next generation watch you pray when life gets heavy, so they'll know what to do when they face their own storms. Sometimes it's modeling forgiveness, so they learn to let go of bitterness before it poisons them. That's legacy. That's generational influence. And it's not always easy. There are moments when you'll wonder if what you're doing is even making a difference. You'll wonder if your kids are paying attention. You'll wonder if the sacrifices you're making, the prayers you're praying, the boundaries you're setting are worth it. But let me tell you something. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. Every seed you plant in faith is growing, even if you can't see it yet. Every act of obedience is building something, even if it feels small right now. Generational influence isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up again and again, even when nobody claps, even when nobody says thank you, because those small faithful acts, stacked over time, create a legacy that nothing can erase. And one day, the very people who didn't seem to notice will look back and realize your example was shaping them all along. A woman who listens to God leaves fingerprints on the future. She may never meet her great-grandchildren, but her prayers will cover them. She may not know the people her children will one day influence, but her obedience is making a way for them. That's how powerful her listening is. That's how far her influence stretches. And if you've ever doubted that your life matters, if you've ever wondered whether your quiet obedience is doing anything, I want you to hear this. The decisions you make today are writing the story future generations will read. The prayers you pray today may be the very thing that protects your family tomorrow. The faith you hold on to in your storm may be the anchor that keeps your children steady in theirs. That's why the enemy fights so hard to silence women who listen to God, because he knows that when you obey, when you stand firm, when you refuse to compromise, you don't just change your life, you change your lineage. You break cycles of fear. You destroy patterns of dysfunction. You create a new path where there was none before, and when people look at you, they may not see all the sacrifices. They may not understand the nights you cried, the days you held on by a thread, the moments you wanted to quit, but didn't. But heaven sees it, and heaven counts it. And heaven knows that you're not just building for yourself, you're building for those who will walk the road after you. That's the kind of influence that outlasts you. That's the kind of power that doesn't fade with time. That's the kind of legacy a woman who listens to God carries. And when she's gone, her voice will still echo through her children, her grandchildren, and through every single life touched by her obedience. That's what it means to transform generations. When a woman listens to God, She carries something the world can't quite explain. She carries peace. Not the kind of peace that comes when everything is perfect, but the kind that shows up right in the middle of the storm. The kind of peace that makes no sense to the people around her, because by all accounts, she should be falling apart, but she isn't. She should be panicking, but she's not. She should be hopeless, but somehow she has hope. That's what happens when you anchor your heart to God's voice. Chaos doesn't scare her, because she knows where her calm comes from. She doesn't need the world to quiet down before she finds her footing. She doesn't need the circumstances to align before she believes it will work out. Her peace isn't tied to what's happening around her. It's tied to the one who never changes. And because of that, no storm, no setback, no bad report, no betrayal can steal what God has planted inside of her. Now, don't mistake that peace for passivity. It's not that she doesn't feel the pressure. It's not that she doesn't know what's at stake. It's not that she doesn't care. It's that she knows who's in control. She knows who holds the final word. She knows that if God spoke it, he will bring it to pass. So while others are unraveling, she is steady. While others are frantic, she is focused. While others are exhausted by fear, she is energized by faith. And you've seen this kind of peace before. It's the peace of a woman who has every reason to break down, but instead she kneels down. It's the peace of a woman who prays when the world would panic. It's the peace of a woman who chooses trust over turmoil. That kind of peace becomes magnetic. People notice it. They don't always understand it, but they feel it. And many times, it becomes the very thing that draws others closer to God. Because peace in the middle of chaos is a testimony all by itself. But here's the thing. You don't get that kind of peace without listening. You don't find that kind of strength without surrendering. You don't walk in that kind of assurance without aligning yourself with divine purpose. Everything builds on everything else. Listening to God teaches you how to filter out the noise. Surrendering to him releases the weight you were never meant to carry. Walking in purpose gives you clarity and direction. And all of that leads to this unshakable peace, the kind that holds you steady when the ground beneath you feels like it's crumbling. This peace doesn't mean life won't throw you curveballs. It doesn't mean you won't face loss, disappointment, or heartbreak. It doesn't mean you'll never cry, never question, never feel the sting of pain. What it means is that even in those moments, you're not defined by them. You can feel the weight of it and still rest. You can cry your tears and still believe. You can be honest about the hurt and still know you're held. That's the peace of God. It doesn't erase reality, it redefines it. And when a woman carries that kind of peace, she becomes a shelter for the people around her. She becomes the calm in her home when everything feels like it's falling apart. She becomes the steady voice of reassurance for her children when they're afraid. She becomes the anchor for her friends when the world feels uncertain. Her peace doesn't just protect her. It covers everyone in her atmosphere. That's why peace is so powerful, because chaos is contagious, but so is calm. Fear spreads, but so does faith. Anxiety multiplies, but so does assurance. And when a woman listens to God and allows his peace to settle deep inside her, she becomes a carrier of that peace. Everywhere she goes, it follows. Every space she enters, it fills. Every person she touches, it impacts. So yes, life will get noisy. The storms will come. The chaos will rise. But the woman who listens to God doesn't lose herself in the madness. She doesn't let the world dictate her emotions. She doesn't let fear take the driver's seat. She holds her peace because she knows her peace is held by him. And when you carry that kind of peace, you become unstoppable. Because no storm can shake you, no chaos can move you, no darkness can intimidate you. You walk with the kind of assurance that makes the enemy nervous and the people around you inspired. And in a world starving for stability, that peace becomes your greatest weapon. Because when the dust settles and the noise fades, it won't be the chaos that lasts, it'll be the calm that you carried through it. There comes a moment when a woman who listens to God realizes that her peace is not just for surviving. It's for stepping forward. Because once you've learned to quiet the noise, once you've surrendered your battles, once you've aligned yourself with purpose, once you've seen your influence touch generations, and once you've tasted the kind of peace that doesn't break in the storm, what's left is courage. And not just ordinary courage, but unstoppable courage. A boldness that doesn't come from personality, but from presence. A confidence that isn't rooted in pride, but in the certainty of who sent you. When a woman listens to God, she doesn't move timidly through life. She doesn't second, guess every step or shrink back at every challenge. She knows she's been given authority. Authority to speak life when others speak death. Authority to declare hope when others declare defeat. Authority to stand in the face of fear and say, "Not today." She carries courage not because she has all the answers, but because she knows who goes before her. And that courage makes her different. While others hesitate, she acts. While others stay silent, she speaks. While others retreat, she advances. Not recklessly, not arrogantly, but with a steady boldness that knows heaven backs her up. That's why you can't stop a woman who listens to God. Because you're not just fighting her, you're facing the one who sent her. And let's be honest, it takes courage to live this way. It takes courage to say no when compromise would be easier. It takes courage to step out in faith when the path isn't clear. It takes courage to believe again after disappointment. It takes courage to keep showing up when the world tells you you're not enough. But that's what makes her unstoppable. She doesn't deny the fear. She just refuses to bow to it. She doesn't pretend the obstacles aren't real. She just knows they don't have the final say. That kind of courage transforms the atmosphere. It inspires other women to stand taller, to trust deeper, to walk braver. It teaches daughters not to settle. It teaches sons what real strength looks like. It teaches communities that when a woman stands in her God-given authority, the ground beneath her changes. Her presence shifts things. Her words break chains. Her prayers open doors. Her faith shakes heaven. And the truth is, this courage is contagious. One woman standing in her authority can ignite something in countless others. Because courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being faithful. It's about taking the step even when your knees are trembling. It's about speaking the truth even when your voice shakes. It's about showing up with boldness, not because you're perfect, but because you're willing. And here's what's remarkable. When she walks in this courage, she doesn't need validation to confirm it. She doesn't wait for permission to use it. She doesn't apologize for carrying it. She understands that when God gave her authority, He also gave her the right to use it, to bind what needs to be bound, to loose what needs to be loosed, to declare what heaven has spoken and watch it manifest on earth. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. And when the world sees her, they might think she's just one person. But what they don't realize is that one person fully surrendered, fully listening, fully walking in purpose, fully anchored in peace, fully clothed in courage, can shift nations, can heal families, can transform generations. Because unstoppable courage doesn't just change her story, it changes every story connected to her. So what happens when a woman listens to God? She becomes more than strong, she becomes unshakable. She becomes more than confident, she becomes courageous. She becomes more than influential, she becomes unstoppable. Not because she has it all figured out, not because life is always easy, not because she never faces fear, but because she knows who called her, she knows who covers her, and she knows who fights for her. And when she rises in that kind of courage, when she steps into that kind of authority, there is nothing in this world, no storm, no lie, no fear, no darkness, that can silence her. Because a woman who listens to God does not just live, she leads, she builds, she transforms, she conquers, and she will not be stopped.